All right, so welcome back to this is now episode 9
Yeah.
of the Football Minded podcast. So this episode is going to be a little similar to last week's. We're going to recap what happened in Afcon, the Asia Cup, and just go through a couple of the transfers as well as do a quick recap on the leagues. As for transfers, I don't think nothing too crazy has happened.
No, no. I mean, when we talk about the league play, some teams that come to mind, for example, are Napoli. So Napoli, they had a really bad run ending 2023, entering 2024, four-game winless drought, three of which were losses, and then they come in and they beat Salernitana at home in stoppage time, and then they also beat Fiorentina in the semifinals of the Supercoppa Italiana. But then they lose now just last week 1-0 at home not at home but in Saudi Arabia to Inter Milan. So they've had an up and down last few weeks, and also with respect to transfers, they've made some pretty big moves, or relatively big moves, at least for January. So they've signed Hamed Junior Traore on loan from Bournemouth with a buy option of 25 million euros. That's one. Number two, they signed Cyril and Gonge from Hellas Verona for an $18 million fee, and they also signed now Leon Dendoncker from Aston Villa on loan for the rest of the season. So they've had now three confirmed signings, and I remember I was reading up on Fabrizio Romano's reporting, and there was also this young Serbian player who from Partizan's youth academy called Matija Popovic, and he was being watched by AC Milan and Bayern Munich, but Napoli seem to be the favorites now in getting him. So that would be a young player acquired on a free transfer coming from a youth academy with lots of upside potential. So
They've been quite busy this transfer window. I'm seeing here.
they sure
Sold
have.
sold a couple players out on loan. Yeah, no, they've been quite busy. So hopefully that could turn their season around. I don't think it'll make too much of a difference,
Not
but
considering where they are now.
yeah, but hopefully they could get back into a European spot, which is still on the cards. I think the highest they could go is probably fourth place. Maybe
I
secure a
agree.
Champions League spot.
I agree.
AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus are quite a big gap ahead of him, right?
Yeah, now I mean,
45, 51, and 52.
yeah, and also you have Victor Osimhen and Zambo Anguissa, who are not playing with Napoli right now because
Yeah,
they're
due
at
to the
Afcon.
Afcon. Yeah, yeah.
So that's also -2 right there. And it's just been a really up and down season for them with Osimhen's injuries, the contract situation. Kvara's contract situation is starting to come up now as well. Chances are he may leave at the end of the season, so it could be a reset after following this season. And if they make it into the Europa League spot, it could be something to look forward to next season, considering they may go through a reset. Because if they go through a reset, it's better that they'll be in Europa League the following season rather than in Champions League, in my opinion.
Well, yes and no. Just financially, you always want to be in Champions League, right? It's a lot more money than Europa League, so it could be very beneficial for them if they want to do so, if they really want to be active in the transfer market in the summer. But chances are they'll end up in Europa League by the looks of it. The next game is crucial. They play Lazio next.
Yes.
Between them and Lazio, there's a 2 point gap. So if they win, they leap past them. Now, depending on the other results, they could go if all the results go their way, they can go all the way up to fifth place,
Which is very good.
which would be very very good. Yeah, considering they're in ninth right now.
It's like a 6 point match.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something to look forward to. Any other interesting stories from the Serie A?
From Serie A, I mean, the more interesting ones, there was Jose Mourinho who was let go. Daniele De Rossi came
Oh yeah,
in,
that's true. We forgot
won on
about
his
that.
debut. So that was probably the biggest highlight from the Serie A this past week and a half, I would say, because the top teams. So we're talking about Lazio, Inter Milan, Napoli, and Fiorentina. They were playing in the Supercoppa Italiana, which was held, as I mentioned earlier, in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So that was probably the big highlight coming out of Italy. And I mean, other countries. I know in England you're gonna have FA Cup action. You had the EFL Cup action, which was quite big this past week. We had the
Liverpool
second
is
legs.
flying at the moment.
Yes,
They're currently
sure
five
are.
five points ahead at the top of the table. Although City have a game in hand, But yeah, just been very dominant. 4-0 win versus Bournemouth last weekend. They played
Yes,
Chelsea
yes.
next. They're looking like the favorites for the title, I think, at the
Yeah.
moment.
And speak of Chelsea next, they will also have a date on in an end of February for the EFL Cup final.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Now that
yeah.
both teams this past week advanced to the EFL Cup final, we had Chelsea defeating Middlesbrough second division team 6-1. 6-1 they won 6-2 on aggregate, and then Liverpool drawing 1-1 in the second leg. They've defeated Fulham on aggregate 3-2. So that was pretty big. And I mean, there was a little bit of a scare with Liverpool because Fulham took that 1-0 lead at Anfield.
Yep,
Liverpool
yep.
rallied to win 2-1. And then, I mean, the 1-1 draw, it wasn't anything all that convincing. And I mean, especially now you have Mohamed Salah. If we want to tie in the Afcon, he's been injured. He's out of action in the Afcon. He returned, which was a controversial decision, returned to Liverpool for rehabilitation of his injury.
According to his doctor, it was a doctor's recommendation, not his decision. According to the reports, well, he got heavily criticized,
Very
but
much so,
according
yeah.
to the reports, he wanted to stay, and his doctor recommended that he goes back for treatment. So your health comes first. So if that's the case, I think it's the right move. You don't want to hinder your recovery too much.
I agree. I agree.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's Liverpool looking very very strong. I think they're my favorites for the title at the moment. Best defense in the league. Have the second most goals in the league, only one behind City. So yeah, they're looking like they're on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, I know like Liverpool's definitely up there. I still fancy City to win the league, and I did make a very controversial take in one of my articles for the top predictions of 2024, where I said that Liverpool's actually going to go trophyless. It was one
You
of the
think so?
craziest takes that I've actually come up with.
You think they're gonna lose to Chelsea in the final?
Yes,
I have a hard
that's
time
my
seeing
that's
that.
that's a very hot take of mine. I
It is
think
a hot take.
Chelsea is gonna somehow steal the game. They're gonna steal the game, snatch the cup away.
So you're banking on an upset.
Yes,
Okay.
very
So
much so.
like you don't think Chelsea are the favorites.
No, no, no. Liverpool are definitely favorites. I just think Chelsea are going to win it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I could see that happening. You never know. Finals is a one-off game, and Chelsea are they're a tournament team usually.
Yeah, and I mean they've been playing well these past couple months. So, or at least much better to compare
Well, they have
in
4 wins
comparison
of
to
their
what they
last
did.
five, but they haven't really played
Yeah, their one loss
big
was against
teams.
Middlesbrough in that first leg.
Yeah, they played Middlesbrough, Fulham, Preston North End, and Luton Town, which they only beat by one
And I
goal.
think they had some previous wins before that as well.
I could check that.
Because I mean, I remember seeing Chelsea, and this was a few games ago, and they played some pretty solid football,
Oh yeah, actually they've been on quite a decent run. Well, an okay run. They
at
beat
least
Crystal
compared to
Palace
what they
before.
did before.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I don't know. I still can't see them beating Liverpool in that final. I think Liverpool's form right now is just going to carry them right through. I think they'll probably even win by like 2 goals, like 3-1.
No, I mean, if Liverpool wins, I think it would be some sort of win like that. Like it will be a high scoring game for Liverpool. But if Chelsea wins, it's gonna be sort of a 1-0 or penalty shootout win kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that happening too. Then again, it's a one-off game.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how long is Salah out for? Salah is out. So yeah, expected return is January 17th. Oh no, sorry, his injury was
Okay.
January
I was
17th.
like that
Expected
already
return is
passed.
unknown yet. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they did
yeah, it's
say a
already
few
passed.
weeks. Like I
Yeah, so he probably won't be back for the final.
I don't think so. No.
That'll actually be interesting to see because he's been by far Liverpool's best player
Yeah.
this year.
And will Chelsea get Christopher and Nkunku back?
That's true. Yeah,
Because
now that you mention it,
he's been slowly training again. So hopefully
that could be
we
a
could
big
see
boost.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely a great player. So yeah, that's pretty much the Premier League. If we go now to Bundesliga, same story. Really, just there were a couple good games this last
Great.
weekend.
Well, I won't say great games, but definitely
Well,
pivotal moments.
the Leverkusen and Leipzig game was great. I think
Yeah.
that was a
Oh
great
yeah, that
game.
was a great game. In addition to that game, there have been some very not pitiful, pivotal moments.
For sure, for sure. Bayern losing 1-0 to Werder Bremen. Very disappointing loss.
At home, it was like their first loss against them at home since like
I don't remember the last time we lost to Bremen.
yeah, I think it was like 2008 or 2009.
Yeah,
And then it's
yep,
their first home loss in like almost 4 years as well.
yep.
It's their first home loss of the season, of course.
So yeah, it was definitely poor
Yeah, they were shut out at
performance.
home as well.
Yeah, which is very like you expect at least Harry Kane to score a goal, right? Considering his form.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that had put Leverkusen 7 points ahead. Bayern had a game in hand, the Union game, which was postponed
yeah,
due to the whole
the big snowfall.
snowstorms, yeah,
Yeah,
in Munich. But Bayern managed to actually. It was actually a good performance. Like 1-0 doesn't really do it justice. I think Bayern could have scored a couple more goals, but and again, solid performance. They got the 3 points. If they had lost that game or drawn that game, that would have been very bad for their title hopes.
yeah,
But now 4 points, right? They still have a game against Leverkusen. The
yeah,
Leverkusen still have a couple tough games. It could still
yeah.
the title's still within sight. I think it's
It's
not
within sight. However, they did suffer a setback. That's
for
for
sure.
sure. Going from 2 points to four
Well,
points.
they would have been what's it called? They would have been 1 point behind.
Yeah,
That it's
1 point to four.
it's
Yeah,
in their hands, right? They played Leverkusen in 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah.
So yeah,
Now, and funny enough, the scorer for Bremen in that game, Mitchell Weiser,
yeah,
he played with Bayer Leverkusen up until last year he was on loan, but up until literally 2022 he
yeah.
was under contract at Leverkusen. So no, last year was his first year at Bremen, but up until 2021, 2022 he was on loan from with Bremen from Leverkusen, but prior to that from 2018, yeah, until 2022 under contract at Leverkusen. So
He did them a
I think he
solid.
scored perhaps scored Leverkusen's biggest goal of the season.
Potentially, we'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Bundesliga. Stuttgart hitting a small slump, losing 3-1 to Gladbach and losing 1-0 to Bochum.
Yeah, the gap
And
is widening there.
but in both games, they should have won both games. If I'm being honest, they just the thing with them, they always play good. They just sometimes the personnel isn't, you know, like
And
it's
they're
not good
missing
personnel.
Girassi as well.
That too. But it just shows the difference in quality between the top two and them.
Yeah.
But they play very good football. Like, even in both games, they probably should have won both games. Even though they lost 3-1 to Gladbach, I think they played better than Gladbach. Just got a little bit unlucky. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Liga, just a quick recap there.
Ligue 1, there's been a lot of Coupe de France action actually. So Ligue 1, it was the restart of it was delayed because of the round of 64. They had 1 week of games and then it was postponed again because well, not postponed, but it was stopped again because of Coupe de France round of 32 games. So
Yes.
now we're at the round of 16 stage, which is going to be happening early next month in February. And now there's going to be League 1 coming back to action. And I mean, PSG widened their lead when they last played, defeating Lens, and Nice had lost, so it's in PSG's hands, I think.
Oh yeah, well they're at this point they're 8 points ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna say it's over, but it's pretty much over, right?
it's in their hands now.
Yeah, like Nice. Well, it's crazy. They've scored more than double the amount of goals Nice has.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's Liga. Nothing too crazy there. La Liga is actually quite interesting at the moment. Um,
it sure is because Girona, Madrid, they're still vying for the top spot for that league title. And then you have Atletico and Barcelona, not too far behind, but it seems to be more of a race for that third place.
yeah. So Girona currently 1 point ahead. Madrid with a game in hand. Madrid, who do they play next? They play Las Palmas. You know, I
Las Palmas have been a decent side this season.
They have, but I can I'm pretty sure Madrid will get the victory there. If they do, they're 2 points ahead. Not much to say there, really. I think Madrid's gonna get the title at the end.
I think so as well. Girona will play to a respectable second place.
Yeah.
And
Well, even I could still see Barcelona catching them. I don't. I don't see why not.
I want to see Girona hit second place at the very least.
I want to see Girona win the league.
Well, I would love to see that.
But I don't think it'll happen.
Being objective here, I'm gonna put Real Madrid first. But honestly, even being objective, I think Girona will still manage to secure that second spot.
Given their form, probably the stats are on their side. They're the highest scoring team in the league by a considerable margin too.
However, they did suffer a setback, but so have the big clubs. I mean, Madrid was the previous round, but now Girona and Barcelona lost in the Copa del Rey quarterfinals.
Yeah, that's true.
Girona now lost to Mallorca, and Barcelona lost to Athletic Bilbao. And Athletic Bilbao have always had Barcelona's number. Yeah. So I mean, this is just another occasion of Bilbao overcoming Barcelona. and now the cup is wide open. I mean, now I guess Atletico would be considered favorites for it
Probably, yeah.
because they also now defeated Sevilla just today 1-0. So it's Atletico, Mallorca, Athletic Bilbao, and if I remember correctly, I believe it was Celta Vigo, but I'm just gonna double check that.
Well, speaking of Sevilla, while you do that, Sevilla have now lost 4 of their last 5 in the league and are only 1 point ahead of the relegation zone.
It's honestly sad with what's happening over there.
So it's I remember we talked about them earlier a couple episodes ago, and I was saying I don't see them getting relegated. It's like they'll probably end up mid-table, and that prediction is looking less and less likely as the weeks go by.
It's shambolic what's happening over there.
It really is. It really is.
Going
Now, are they
fourth
going
in
to
the
get
group.
relegated? Do you think they'll get relegated? I still don't think so, but it's too close at the
I
at
don't
the
think so. I
moment.
think they'll finish like 15th, but regardless, it's a failure of a season for them
100%.
because you also have Champions League where they finished fourth place in their group, so they didn't even manage to secure that third place and that possibility, or in Sevilla's case, that high likelihood of winning the Europa League.
Yeah, that's true, given their history.
So,
yeah, so they're not. Yeah, it's a very poor season so far. Yeah, that pretty much covers the leagues.
yeah,
Should we move on to Afcon? Afcon has been super interesting.
it's been something. It
Like,
sure has.
Our predictions have
Yeah.
gone like.
I
pretty
just
much out
wanted
the
to make
window.
one note. It's
Yep.
Real Sociedad who's
Real
the
Sociedad.
the other semifinalist. They defeated Celta Vigo, so it was because I was thinking it was the opposite. Celta Vigo had defeated Sociedad, but just fact check myself. Sociedad defeated Celta Vigo 2-1.
There you go. So there you guys have it. Those are the remaining clubs in the Spanish Cup. Now on to Afcon. So Afcon's been pretty much like flipped on its head in almost every single group. Uh, let's start with Group A. Equatorial Guinea finishing top of the group over
Oh, yeah.
Ivory Coast and Nigeria, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
absolutely insane. Like this is like that I would not have seen this happen. Like I was so sure that Nigeria would top it or Cote d'Ivoire would top it.
For sure.
Like it's crazy. Cote d'Ivoire barely making it through to the round of 16.
They needed to hope for another team to finish with less points. And I mean, when you have 3 points and you're at a -3 goal differential, you're at odds
Yeah,
of
very
finishing
very lucky.
among 4 of the best 6 teams of
Yeah.
third place teams. But
Lucky them, Zambia.
yeah,
lost their
they
game against
drew.
Morocco.
They lost, against Morocco, and Congo drew against Tanzania. That was probably the most boring final match day of a group stage I've ever seen.
Yeah,
2 groups in action with 4 games in total. 3 of the games are 0-0 draws, and then the other game is a 1-0 win for Morocco.
yeah, and it was the first games that actually had that ended up scoreless.
Yeah,
in term, it was all in the final match day, or final match day of the group stage. But yeah, so Ghana and Zambia doing Cote d'Ivoire a favor. Ghana very very poor Afcon so far. Well, they're out now, but yeah, very very poor.
extremely poor. I
Grabbing,
mean,
yeah,
I
2
saw,
points.
and I also saw what you call it, Mohamed Kudus in the post match press conference where they're just asking him like, how do you feel after because they were up 2-0 and they drew 2-2 against Mozambique, and that
Yep.
blew it. It blew it for them.
They
They
would have been
conceded 2 stoppage time goals. And Kudus was just saying, I can't believe it. I mean, and thank the fans for showing up, but he was in absolute disbelief. They
Nah,
fired
me
their
too.
coach. And speaking of teams that, with Ivory Coast, look at what happened with them. They had a very poor performance. High likelihood that they were not going to advance. They
Yeah.
fired their coach, and now they're through.
Yeah, that's true.
So what are they going to do?
Bring him back?
Well, I think they'll just honor the assistants as an interim. But
Probably.
what they really tried to do though is they tried to approach the French Football Federation, the women's team. Hervé Renard, coach, he was the head coach who won the Afcon with Zambia. They tried to approach him for a loan, for them to loan him to Ivory Coast for the rest of the tournament.
No way.
But they refused.
That's they had to do something. They messed up, right? So you got to try something there.
Yeah, it reminds me of the time when Croatia were going we're qualifying, but this was for 2014. But they had a poor run in their group, but they still managed to just squeeze in to the playoffs. But then they fired their coach, so then they had to get a whole new coaching staff for those playoff games, which they ended up winning, and then they went to the World Cup
in 2014.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, but then they didn't make
That's
it
interesting.
far in 2014. But yeah,
Huh, that's very interesting. But yeah, what's it
it's
called?
just one of those instances. one of those rare instances, but quite extraordinary and interesting. I want to see what happens with the host nation of all nations too, right? But yeah, and another
But they
thing,
play Senegal next. It's gonna be a tough game.
it it will,
Most likely gonna leave the tournament
and they're my
against them.
favorites.
Yeah, Senegal had a very solid run.
Perfect record in a tough group too,
Yeah,
with Cameroon, Guinea, and Gambia.
yeah.
So
Cameroon off to a very poor start, squeezing by in their last game, getting a 3-2 win versus Gambia. They were my dark horses, if you recall
yes, I
from the
do.
last episode. They now play Nigeria next. That's going to be a crazy game because Nigeria weren't too convincing either.
No, like their wins weren't by much. It was all these 1-0 wins,
Yeah,
2-1-0 wins, and a 1-1 draw to open their tournament campaign.
yeah,
So
definitely not convincing. I think now we'll just go through like all the next
you
matches.
did mention Cameroon, and I did want to highlight Andre Onana's performance.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
What's been happening? So he played the Manchester United game, was late for the first game, comes into the second game, makes 0 saves in their 3-1 loss.
Yeah.
Against Senegal, and then was benched for the third game. So he has a 0% save percentage. 3 shots against 3 goals. And yeah, it's been a very rough time for him. We remember what happened with him at the World Cup in 2022 and how he retired, came back, and also that's
Well, he's always had a rocky relationship with the Cameroonian
yeah.
FA. I don't see that changing. I think he might not even play the rest of the tournament.
He may not.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I'm thinking we just go through the games.
I did also want to mention one more thing. It was a theme that I had pointed out in the last newsletter about Afcon and the performers from this past group stage. It was quite concerning to see the North African teams play the way they played. Egypt had a very mediocre tournament, albeit they passed, but only with 3 points, winless. It was all 3 draws. Algeria finishes last in their group. Tunisia, who were my dark horse team, if you recall, finished last in their group. Mind you, I mean, when we did this, when I called them dark horses, I had high expectations for them. They hadn't even played their first match yet. But Algeria, Tunisia are out. Libya, I mean, obviously, they weren't even there. Yeah. Egypt, very mediocre.
Mauritania is probably the best of the bunch after Morocco.
So far, yeah. Morocco is sort of like the outlier here. Mauritania, I mean, sure, they managed to secure that second last now, just ahead of Cote d'Ivoire for the four of the best 6 third place teams.
Yeah.
But Morocco is the only North African team that has actually performed to expectations. Algeria and Tunisia, it's terrible.
Algeria had a terrible
4th place in the group.
Yeah.
And Algeria lost to Mauritania on the last match day.
Yeah, Algeria actually had a relatively easy group compared to the other ones. So for them to finish 4th, definitely very poor. I don't know. I don't really know what's been going on with them. They haven't really been that good the last couple of years.
No, ever since they won the tournament in 2019, it's been downhill from there.
Yeah, and they still have some solid players in the squad, right? It's a little bit concerning.
Yeah,
but we'll see how if they can maybe turn this around the next couple of years. But yeah, so now if we go through the round of 16, Nigeria, Cameroon, that's probably, I think, the biggest matchup. Maybe Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, I'll put that one ahead of Nigeria, Cameroon. The main thing is because they're hosts.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but yeah, so Nigeria, Cameroon. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Cameroon's gonna win.
I fancy Nigeria on this one. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. I think it'll be a 1-0 game. Victor Osimhen gets the goal.
Potentially, yeah, I can see that happening. But I don't know. My gut feeling is telling me Cameroon, so I'm gonna go for Cameroon.
What's the score you think?
Oh, it's gonna be by 1 goal. Like if
1-0, 2-1, 3-2.
Yeah, like it's
5-4.
I think a very low scoring game. 1-0, 2-1. That's about it. Maybe even like shootouts or something.
Choupo-Moting game winner or something.
Choupo-Moting game winner.
All right, we'll go with that.
He's a great player, man. Anyway, Angola, Namibia.
I got Angola winning that one.
I think so too. I'll go with that one. Hard to tell a score. But
and you know what? I wish I had learned more about Angola and their football. But to me, after this group stage, I think they're the dark horses.
Potentially, yeah. They had a very good group stage. So yeah, I could definitely see them going far. Well, they play the winner of Nigeria, Cameroon. So that's a very tough quarterfinal if they are to get there. But yeah, I fancy them against Namibia. Then you got Cape Verde versus Mauritania.
Yeah.
I think given the tournament Cape Verde has had so far, I'm gonna have to go
Um,
with them.
I am as well.
Yeah. Morocco and South Africa. I think Morocco takes it there.
I sure do.
Don't think we'll see a surprise there. It might still be a good game, but I think Morocco will edge them out at the end.
I still think they're gonna win pretty handsomely.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe like a 3-1.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mali, Burkina Faso. So Burkina
That's
Faso with a great
that's an
tournament so far.
underrated game too.
It really is. So
Two
Burkina
close
Faso
teams.
has finished second place in the group.
Yeah.
Kind of unexpectedly, right? Considering they had Algeria in their group. But yeah, so they had a pretty good run so far. Lost their last game to Angola, but I'm not sure. So that one is tough. What do you think?
I mean, I hadn't managed to catch Burkina Faso play in this tournament yet. However, I did see Mali play in the one game against Tunisia, and it was an awful performance. Granted, by both teams, but like you draw 1-1, and it was the worst thing I'd ever seen. I have seen 0-0 games far better than that, where in this game Tunisia just kept turning over the ball, and Mali would have the easiest chances and sky the ball. It didn't make any sense. So I mean, Mali has underperformed. Burkina Faso,
Well, Mali topped their group.
I still think quality wise they've underperformed considering their group.
Fair enough. Yeah.
They did manage to top
Well,
it.
they had
So
South Africa, Namibia, and Tunisia.
Yeah, but the quality of their performances, I didn't like it. Even the highlights for their other games, it wasn't that great. Considering they were already the favorites to begin with, or at least second favorites behind Tunisia, they should have had a better performance. I mean, they at least got the results, but they didn't really get the performances, those quality performances that I think a lot of their fans expect. Whereas Burkina Faso, I think they've been at to par, like they're at par. I think Burkina Faso, I've followed them before in some qualifications for the World Cup, and they came close several times. So I mean, I always knew Burkina Faso was like that type of country that could maybe put a good performance at Afcon. So,
well, again, I'm really not sure about
yeah,
this one. Like, if you're a betting man, avoid this game.
Penalties.
Yeah. Like, again, if you're a betting man, avoid this game at all costs. Do
I
not
think
place
so,
any bets
yeah.
on this game.
Yeah, I'll say Burkina Faso on penalties because Mali's just gonna sky the penalties.
I think Mali will just scrape through. I think they'll scrape through. I'm not sure how, but I'm gonna go for Mali. Then you have probably the biggest game, or biggest or second biggest, depending if you put Nigeria, Cameroon ahead of them. Senegal and Ivory Coast. I think Senegal will go through.
Yes.
But in these type of games, we've seen so many upsets in Afcon in the past couple of editions. So I would not be surprised to see Cote d'Ivoire scrape out a win. They've had a terrible tournament so far, but again, it's a one-off game. They're at home. You never know what can happen. I think favorites are Senegal. I think Senegal will go through. I'd put my money on Senegal, but don't count out Ivory Coast.
You can't count out that possibility, but I think Senegal is gonna win comfortably 2-0.
Think 2-0 potentially. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be a comfortable game at all. No. I think the way the game will go is Senegal will be surprised at first by the intensity that the game that the Cote d'Ivoire will come out with. Potentially even fall behind by a goal. I think in the end they'll win, but
like a 2-1 thing.
Potentially, I think Ivory Coast is really going to take the game to Senegal. I have that feeling. It's not going to be as easy as people think it's going to be.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
That's my prediction at least.
It's differing opinions, but I like that.
Yeah. Well, it can't be all of the same opinion.
Exactly. What's the point of all of that?
Then we have Egypt and Congo.
Yeah, that's an underrated matchup too. I think actually underrated. We were talking about Mali and Burkina Faso, and I mean, sure, they're maybe not as highly coveted teams or some, but I like this Egypt Congo matchup, particularly because both teams have also underperformed.
Yeah. Well, and now Egypt losing Salah, I think it's really up in the air now. With Salah, I go for Egypt.
Yeah.
But I think right now I'm thinking Congo. Just because
I think so too.
Salah, and with all the turmoil that's been going on and the drama in the Egyptian camp, I think that might just give the edge to Congo.
Yeah. Like Egyptians could maybe express some sort of joy that they've gone undefeated, but it's still been a sorry state of affairs in this tournament for them.
Definitely.
So I mean, Congo, they haven't performed as well as I thought they were going to. They did step up against Morocco though, and
they did.
Took the game to them with a draw. but it required a penalty shot goal, and it was also
Both teams drawing all 3 games, mind you.
yeah. Oh, even Congo drew all three.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Congo drew all 3 games. That group was really boring. But yeah,
It
so
was very my god.
so
My
yeah,
god,
like
what a boring group.
it's a really like yeah, it's a really weird tie, honestly. I think Congo will just edge them out.
I'll put it in. I'll give it to them in extra time.
Potentially, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure,
I'll give it a
but
2-1 after extra time.
2-1 after extra. Yeah, I agree with that. Now both Guineas are playing each other. Well, there was a third.
Yeah,
third
which two of the three are you
So
mentioning?
Equatorial Guinea and Guinea,
Okay,
not Guinea-Bissau.
no. Guinea-Bissau, they crashed out of their group as the fourth place, which I mean that was expected considering
Yeah,
there was Nigeria, host Cote d'Ivoire, but it's Equatorial Guinea the real surprise here,
yeah. So
topping the group.
exactly in a tough group. They beat they beat Guinea-Bissau 4-2, and then the final match they beat Ivory Coast 4-0.
That was a crazy game. I was watching that one and I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, you saw that camera shot of Didier Drogba in the stands, and he just
Yeah,
absolutely could not believe it.
yeah, like 4-0. That's man,
In
crazy
at
victory.
home too.
Yeah, and they
In a
drew
must win almost, you know? Like I
yeah,
thought Cote
definitely
d'Ivoire
a
was
must
done
win.
after that. Yeah.
Definitely a must win, or at least a draw, right? But yeah, so then they drew Nigeria 1-1 in the opening game. I think my favorite is in that game is Equatorial Guinea. I think it has to be.
I think so
Uh,
too. I mean, Guinea really got by, but granted they did have a tough group, but I think Equatorial Guinea is on a roll right now.
yeah,
They topped their group. They're playing really well. They came off now a 4-0 performance against the hosts. So I think Equatorial Guinea is going to take it as well. And I mean, honestly, I can see Equatorial Guinea going all the way to the semifinals,
yeah,
considering they'll be playing either, I think it's Congo or Egypt.
yeah. I could see them grabbing the win against either.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. And as for the other ones, I think the winner between Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire goes through to the semifinals.
I think so as well.
Yeah, like because if Ivory Coast get that win versus Senegal, it's a big confidence boost, right? They pretty much beat the top team in the tournament. I think they'll go into the Mali or Burkina Faso game with with high hopes, right? And with confidence booming. I think they'll go through to the semifinals there. The winner of Nigeria Cameroon, I think
Yeah.
will go through to the semis.
And just can you check one thing for me because
Yeah,
I remember reading this and it's the right back for Equatorial Guinea. I keep forgetting his name, but I believe he was top scorer of the competition so far. And he was the one who scored that beautiful free kick goal against Cote d'Ivoire. And it was one of the best free kicks I had seen in a while. Yes, this man, Emilio Nsue.
Yeah, he's actually top scorer. This guy has 4 goals.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Including that brilliant free kick goal against Cote d'Ivoire.
Well, he scored 2 against Ivory Coast. No, he has more. He has 5 goals.
In the Afcon, or does that include other games?
No, he has 5 goals in Afcon.
He scored 2 against.
He scored
Cote
2
d'Ivoire.
against Cote d'Ivoire and he scored 3 against Guinea-Bissau.
He scored a hat trick.
Yeah.
No way.
I think he got man of the match both games.
Well, I would assume so.
That's insane. That is
And he's a
actually
defenseman.
crazy.
He's a right back.
No, he's a striker.
And who is this right back? Someone told me right back. Oh. Someone told me right back. Anyways,
No, maybe he played right back a couple times. But yeah, no, he's the I think he's the main striker, yeah.
and that's star player on the team, star player at the tournament.
So far, yeah, I think so. Well, they don't really have too many big names, right? But again, we see names being made in these type of tournaments.
For sure.
So
For
yeah,
sure. Let's see if he ends up going to Europe.
potentially, yeah, yeah. Well, I think is he already in Europe?
No, FC Intercity. I don't even know where that is.
Let me see. So yeah, Intercity. Oh, they're in Spain. Oh wow.
Oh, it's the third division in
Yeah.
Spain.
He's in the Spanish third division.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Okay, so when I say Europe, I mean one of the top divisions in Europe.
Yeah, it could earn him a big move. But yeah, so that pretty much concludes AFCON. Let us know what you guys think for sure. As
Comment your
always.
predictions below in the comment section. We want to see that.
Yeah, let us know if you think we're wrong.
Yeah,
And we've been very wrong so far in both tournaments.
we have been considering our dark horses. Well, at least my dark horse with
Especially
Tunisia.
Lebanon.
That was terrible. And
Yeah.
yes, now we're moving on to AFC Asian Cup. I heard you just murmuring Lebanon there.
Yep.
That's
Very disappointing because we were up after 80 minutes against Tajikistan, which would have put us through in second place after securing a very big draw against China. And then red card, goal in the 80th minute.
why,
and then
man.
one in the 92nd, I believe, and they lose 2-1. Uh, just a collapse. Really, the team just collapsed
Why?
there. That would have put us in second place, and we'd be playing the UAE, which
Monumental
Lebanon have
stuff.
beaten before. So I would have liked our chances against the UAE, but sadly, it is what it is. Lebanon finishes in fourth place and do not qualify.
Yeah, they weren't even good enough to finish in third place that didn't even qualify. So
Yeah,
imagine that.
yeah, exactly. So it was very very poor. Qatar getting 3 wins out of 3. Right. They play Palestine next, which I think they'll win comfortably.
I think so too.
Uh,
Palestine have been a good performer though. Drawing UAE 1-1, that was a shocker. I
yeah,
mean, they beating Hong Kong is not, and that's what qualified them for the round of 16.
yeah,
But still, 4 points out of 3 games is not bad for a team that's been going through a lot.
for sure. Yeah. Group B, I think, kind of went as expected.
Yeah,
We that was pretty much it.
Uzbekistan and Australia securing it, Syria getting that third spot, which I had predicted as well.
Yeah, they pretty much played like they played a pointless game in the last game of the group. They play each other. Both got it was a 1-1 draw. Both were already qualified coming into it.
Right.
So yeah, again, just kind of like a pointless game there. Australia looked solid. Only conceded 1 goal so far this tournament. Um, again, one of the favorites, like we mentioned last time. Moving on to Group C, you had Iran, UAE, and Palestine qualifying. Probably one of the better groups so far in the tournament, right?
I would say so.
Iran getting 3 wins out of 3, and they look very strong
Yeah,
going into the knockout phase. I think I have them ranked a little bit high. Like, remember when I said that they're just behind the top 3? I think they are among the top 3, or well, 4 now. I think they are in that bracket. I think,
level with them.
yeah, I think so, 100%. Um, Now, the biggest surprise of the tournament has to be Iraq. Getting 3 wins out of 3 already, I don't think was expected for them to get 3 wins out of 3.
Not 3 wins. It was really one game that was a pivotal moment in their campaign, and that
Yeah,
was their
in
win
Japan.
against Japan.
Yeah, yeah. Considering Japan have been smacking teams left and right the last 2 years, right? Ever since they played Germany. Yeah, so it's been quite the cup run so far for Iraq. They play Jordan next, which I assume they will win as well, given their form. Jordan is a pretty good team, but
Given the form, I do
yeah,
expect Iraq to win that one for sure.
exactly. Japan, other than the loss versus Iraq,
Yeah,
still had a
Iraq
decent tournament.
usually play well in this tournament too.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was one year where they even made it to the final, and there was one year where they had won it even in the 2000s. So I mean, the Asian Cup is a decent is a good tournament for them. Same for a country like Qatar. Those
yeah.
two countries they play well in this tournament. But however, a team like Saudi Arabia or Iran they don't typically play well in this tournament,
Well, Iran is just
considering their pedigree.
yeah. Well, so Iran is just a great team. Like World Cup, multiple World Cup appearances.
Exactly, and that's why I
And
expect them to be a great team in this tournament. But I mean, they
yeah,
haven't found much success when it comes to winning the tournament,
yeah,
at
that's
least in
true.
recent history.
Well, they topped the group this time. They're playing very well. So I can see them going far. Like, I really do think they are among the top teams in the tournament. I don't think there's anything that separates them from South Korea, Japan, and Australia. Yeah, but now it's just like I'm curious to see how Iraq will do. I'm very curious to see what's next for Japan. Japan play Bahrain next. Should be a pretty not easy win, but fairly easy enough win for Japan.
I think Japan will win, but do not underestimate Bahrain. Bahrain, they always play a close game.
Yeah, fair enough. All their wins so far were 1-0. They
Yeah,
had a they had a 0 goal difference while topping the group over South Korea. Yeah, South Korea got a win and 2 draws, finished second in the group. I still think they're one of the favorites, even though they didn't top the group there.
yeah, it was really
Um,
their draw with Malaysia. It was this high-scoring game,
yeah, 3-3.
3-3, and then I mean,
Well,
everyone
3-3, and then
expected
two
South
two
Korea to
versus
win that.
Jordan too.
Yeah, the 2-2 against Jordan, that's a little bit maybe I wouldn't say expected, but it's not a huge surprise compared to drawing with Malaysia.
Really weird group, right? Second and third place had a better goal difference than first place.
Interesting. Quite
Really, really
interesting.
weird. But yeah, so in that group, Bahrain finished first, South Korea second, and Jordan qualified as third
As a
place.
third.
Group F, Saudi Arabia topping the group. They've had a good run so far. Just drew the last game versus Thailand. A little unexpected. I think they would have gotten
Yeah,
it,
they
but
also had a very easy group as well. I would say
yeah,
that was probably the easiest group for any big team.
for sure, yeah. Kyrgyzstan had a bit underwhelming. I thought they'd do a little bit better. Uh,
Against Oman, I thought they would do better. I thought they were going to finish second, but Thailand managed to secure that second place position.
I think I had Kyrgyzstan in second, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
I think so. If
I,
I'm not sure,
I,
I'll have to look
I
back.
can't
But
recall, but I didn't think I didn't have really high hopes for Kyrgyzstan. I had Oman second, but now they finished third. But yeah, I don't know what's
yeah,
gonna
and didn't even
happen,
qualify as third place.
which
So
is unfortunate for them. Thailand, however, I mean, they took the second spot. I didn't expect them to.
I thought they finished last, honestly.
Yeah,
Very surprising, but congratulations to them. They've had a very, very good group stage, or they had a very good group stage. Now looking to the round of 16 matchups. So we already talked about a couple of them. So Iraq, Jordan. I think Iraq gets it there. Um,
I think so too. But it's gonna be very close. I think Iraq is gonna win in extra time.
Extra time potentially. Yeah, I could see that happening. Tajikistan, UAE. That's a good one. That could go either way.
It's an interesting one because I'm not gonna underestimate Tajikistan and UAE. I mean, they haven't been playing all that great, but not bad either.
Yeah. Well, again, if FIFA rankings don't always mean too much, but judging by the FIFA rankings, UAE are slight favorites. UAE ranked 64th, Tajikistan ranked 106. Quite a big gap. Like usually, if they're close in rankings, you'd be okay, similarly matched. You don't look too much into that. But when there's a gap that big, there's you could assume that there is a slight difference in quality.
Yeah.
I think UAE have the slightly better team, but anything can happen. We saw Tajikistan, pull off a great group stage, right? So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think I'll have UAE for this one.
I think UAE
A one
too.
goal game.
I think it might be more than that. I think UAE like I don't want to say comfortable, but I think they should qualify to the quarterfinals against
I
Tajikistan.
feel like it's gonna be a very cagey game actually.
Potentially, yeah, yeah.
Not many offensive opportunities, and it's gonna finish 1-0.
I could see that, yeah, yeah. Then Australia, Indonesia. I think Australia goes through comfortably there. I don't think they'll have too many problems
I think
against
that's probably
Indonesia.
the easiest one, honestly,
Yeah, yeah,
of
100%.
all these matchups.
Yeah. Then
It's
you
the most
have
lopsided.
yeah, for sure. And then Saudi Arabia and South Korea. That's gonna be a good one. That's gonna
Very
be a
good.
very good one.
Arguably the best matchup of the round.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think South Korea slightly edges it,
I think so too.
just slightly more quality, but it'll be a very good game. Iran, Syria. I think Iran goes through pretty comfortably there.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if I take. Well, depending on what you mean by comfortably, do you mean by a big score comfortably,
No,
or
but
you mean
like
like a one or two goal kind of thing?
like
But
one or two goal, but like they
Iran
shouldn't
is
have
in control of the game
exactly.
essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I mean. Like no, I don't think it'll be like a 4-0 or something like that. Probably not.
The
It
one
could happen,
the
but
one
like
4-0 I maybe see happen is the Australia Indonesia game.
yeah,
That one I'm gonna say 3-0 Australia.
yeah, yeah. Then you got Bahrain, Japan. I think Japan should win that game.
2-1 Japan in my opinion.
Maybe even like 3-1. I think 3-1.
You think those are
Solid 3-1. Japan's just a high scoring team. They score a lot of goals. They're hard to contain. Qatar, Palestine. I think Qatar goes through. Uh, one or two goals. I don't think there's much to say there.
I'll give them a 3-1
Yeah,
victory.
yeah. Again, comfortably. And then Uzbekistan, Thailand. That one can go either way.
It could go either way, but I fancy Uzbekistan on that one.
I think so too. But Thailand have had a good group stage, so I don't know. I really don't know. Like Thailand has really surprised me.
They have. I mean,
Um,
they have.
Uz-
I can't contest that.
Uzbekistan are the favorites though. Um, yeah, I think Uzbekistan will win. It'll be a little bit tighter than people think it will be. But yeah, so that's
Uzbekistan's gonna win on penalties. That's my theory.
you think so?
Yeah.
Well, again, like
Already,
last
that's a
week,
good enough performance for Thailand, if you ask me.
fair enough. Yeah, no, it is. Then again, our predictions were wrong before. So
We're not perfect.
I assume we're gonna be wrong again.
We're not from one. We did not come from the future.
Yeah.
So
And these type of tournaments are always very very unpredictable, right?
yeah.
Like we've had like, numerous upset winners in the last couple of editions. So it's not always
Yeah.
set in stone. It's not always black and white.
But other than going with our bias for Lebanon, I think our rankings for the Asia Cup are more or less decent. I'd say, at least compared to the African Cup.
Actually, yeah. Maybe the Japan Iraq where it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
South Korea, Bahrain, a little bit of a surprise. The rest, though,
Then just Thailand qualifying, but I think honestly, and maybe Palestine managing to get that third place, one of the third places. I think
yeah,
I think I had them as one of the two third places that wouldn't make it, and I think that really has to do with
other people's results. Yeah,
well, the actually the draw with UAE. I did not expect that.
yeah, no, but like again, predicting who comes out as third place is very very tough.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, yeah, you're actually. I think our predictions were fairly spot on for the rest of the groups. Yeah, that pretty much concludes the Asia Cup.
Yeah,
Uh,
let us know your predictions for both round of 16. Who's gonna make it where, and who do you think is going to win the tournament? Please let us know in the comments down below, and we look forward to seeing your predictions on that.
yeah, yeah. And as for the episode, I think that pretty much covers all the topics this week.
It sure does.
We'll see you guys next week. By next week, the Asia Cup would be at the semifinals, or potentially we'd potentially know the final or who's going to play in the final. Same thing with the Afcon actually. It will be similar timeline then. We'll keep you guys up to date on the transfers. Transfer market will be closed by the next episode, so maybe we'll see some big deadline day deals. Um, Other than that, I think it's pretty much it for this week.
It sure is.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next week and enjoy the football.